Scarlet and Violet 151. There has been a lot of talk about Scarlet and Violet 151 over the past month or so, and we're actually not going to really talk about Scarlet and Violet 151. It just kind of makes a good segue into our actual topic for today. But Scarlet and Violet 151 has been going pretty nuts over the past month or so. Sealed product has been very difficult to get at any sort of price close to MSRP. There have been small restocks that some people have been able to take advantage of, like pokemoncenter.com did have booster bundles up for MSRP recently, but they sold out really quick. Amazon also did the same. I think Best Buy also did the same. You can let me know in the comment section down below if you were able to find and get your hands on any booster bundles at MSRP. But other than booster bundles, pretty much everything has been skyrocketing. Like, it's just been climbing and climbing and climbing, and a lot of people are like, okay, can we get a nice reprint of this? Because the set has only been out a month or a year, and it's very difficult to find at any cheap price, and a lot of people really enjoy opening up Scarlet and Violet 151. So as we inch closer and closer to the holiday season, the idea behind Pokemon dumping just a truckload of Scarlet and Violet 151 is starting to diminish a little bit, and because of that, even singles are starting to climb. That Charizard special illustration rare just recently passed $150. This is probably the most anticipated, the most hyped, the most loved specialty set outside of maybe Hidden Fates, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video is Hidden Fates, because Hidden Fates has also started to move quite a bit over the past year, and Hidden Fates is very interesting. So let's talk about specialty sets in general. For example, there's just too many sets in general, and very few specialty sets are big hitters, like are really, really good. Now, obviously, we have the release of Prismatic Evolution that's coming out in January that is expected to do extremely well with all the eeveelutions and things like that, and we don't have a whole lot of leaks, so we don't really know much about that yet. But if you rewind time and go back to when Pokemon started with their specialty set releases, like Dragon Vault, for example, it didn't do very well. It was not a very popular set, and then over the years, as they started releasing maybe one specialty set a year, they were keeping them very, very small until we got to the point of like Generations. Then Generations, being a specialty set because it was a celebration of Pokemon's 20th anniversary, started doing much, much better. And then we moved into Shining Legends, which was really big. Then we moved into, obviously, Celebrations, which was absolutely huge. And now we've gotten to the point where there's basically two specialty sets that release every year. Some of them are really good, but most of them are not really good. Shrouded Fable, for example, which just came out, is very easily findable. I think that's how you can say that. Very easily findable, locatable, for way below MSRP. It is just not a very popular set. Now, there are cards in Shrouded Fable, unlike other sets, that have impacted competitive play a lot. Celebrations also had some of those cards, but Shrouded Fable, for the most part, just really not a fan favorite, which is fine. Pokemon Go, another example of a set which a lot of people just didn't like. Now, it also has some cards that are really good in competitive play, but for the most part, a lot of people are like, okay, well, this set really isn't for me. It came out like 5 years too late. But then you have sets like Scarlet and Violet 151, Crown Zenith, and Hidden Fates, which are super, super popular. So it'll be very interesting to look at Prismatic Evolution when it does come out, or once we start getting ideas of what's coming out in the set, to see what the hype looks like, because Scarlet and Violet 151 trying to really put a target on a dartboard of where it falls in line with specialty sets. I think Hidden Fates is probably the best bet for your budget as far as what you can compare it to. I mean, like Scarlet and Violet 151 is just kind of in its league of its own when it comes to specialty sets, and Hidden Fates is really the only set that we've seen that has seen this type of growth potential. Other sets, specialty sets, even Pokemon Go, which came out, what, almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, is not really, like, it's cheap. Like, you can still find it for very, very cheap. So I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Hidden Fates is very interesting because Hidden Fates was reprinted multiple times. And the other thing to remember as you're kind of trying to gauge interest on what Scarlet and Violet 151 is going to look like 5 years down the road, it's very difficult to understand because Hidden Fates obviously came through at a point where the pandemic hit. So Hidden Fates was out for a little bit over a year before the pandemic hit and really shook everything up. And then because of that, Hidden Fates got reprinted multiple times. There were like 3 different print runs of the tins that came out, that Raichu, Charizard, Gyarados tin. There was like 3 different print runs of that. There were multiple print runs of the Elite Trainer Box, including a very, very large restock or reprint of the Elite Trainer Box, which came out like right smack dab in the middle of the chaos that was Pokemon during the pandemic. If you remember, Vivid Voltage had come out, and then December hit, January, where we had gotten to a point where it was pretty much impossible to find any Pokemon cards in stores at all. And then all of a sudden, boom, Pokemon was like, hey, here's some Hidden Fates ETBs. Here's a ton of them. And they were very difficult to find. You had all these people lining up at Targets trying to buy all these Hidden Fates ETBs that they possibly could get, so that way they could sell them on the secondary market. Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes at one point in time had hit $300 a piece, and that brought them back down. Now, Hidden Fates ETBs were retailing for like $40, $50 at the time, and you couldn't find them for below $100 still when the reprint happened, but it brought it way down, you know, from the $300 price point that it was. And since then, been very steady. Elite Trainer boxes, for the most part, have been hovering right around $150 up until this year. Now, Hidden Fates is something that's really loved by a lot of people. It's loved by a lot of people to open, and it's still not too expensive where people are afraid to rip it. You do get decent pull rates in the set. In fact, one Elite Trainer box, 10 packs, is going to produce you like 3 baby shinies and 1 full art shiny. The pull rates on full art shinies are about 1 out of 9. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we go over the Charizard, because I have a little bit of information regarding that. But if you look at the Hidden Fates Elite Trainer box, the growth pattern has been very, very strong. Over the past year, you're looking at almost 11% growth, which is very, I mean, that's excellent. Anytime you get double-digit growth over the course of a year, especially on a set the age of Hidden Fates, is very, very good. It's sitting at $186.89 currently, which is just off of its $188.60 one-year high. Its low point, which it hit in January of 2024, was $162.72. So it's actually gone up a little bit more than 10% since January, doing extremely well. And if you look at the available listings on eBay, on TCG Player, it is starting to break down a little bit as more and more Hidden Fates packs get open. Remember, the great thing about sealed is once you break it, it cannot go back to sealed. And that's something that a lot of people, I think, don't take into account when it comes to the idea of sealed investing, is that once you remove something from its sealed state, it cannot go back to that, which is why it continues to deplete the supply that is out in the market. So Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes, you might see this topple over $200 in the near future in 2025 as it continues to grow and more packs get open. Hidden Fates booster packs also doing extremely well, up almost 14% over the course of the year. Its all-time low, or its one-year low, actually hit in January of 2024. That was when it was about $17.58. It did start climbing quite a bit, and you can see in July it actually hit its one-year high of $21.48, and then did back off a little bit. It retraced a little bit. There was more inventory that got uploaded, and these aren't packs that people are ripping all the time, but they're a little bit more comfortable ripping Hidden Fates than some of the older, just because there are a lot of chase cards in the set. So $20.09 is where you're currently looking at for Hidden Fates booster packs. Again, about 14% growth over the past year, which is really strong. Here are the tins that we were talking about before. We're just looking at the Raichu one. There's 3 different variants. There's the Gyarados, and there's the Charizard one as well. Obviously, the Charizard one is going to be the most expensive, but even this Raichu tin, this comes with 4 booster packs inside, and then the Raichu promo card has done really well over the past year. In October of 2023, this was sitting at $57.45, which breaks down to about $15 per booster pack, which is really good. And now it has jumped up quite a bit. You're looking at 15.5% growth over the past year. Its one-year high was actually hit in August of 2024. That's when it hit $70.45. It's backed off a little bit, currently sitting at $68.26. But the fact that you get 4 packs, it's cheaper than just going out and buying 4 loose packs, because those loose packs are selling for about $20 a pop right now. That would be $80 in itself. So the tins kind of undervalued right now, because they do come with 4 packs and that promo card, and you're only looking at about $17 per pack if you're buying it in one of these Raichu tins versus buying loose packs, which is $20. Obviously, you have a lot more peace of mind buying the sealed product and cracking it for the loose packs than buying loose packs by themselves. So definitely something to consider. That's important right there. There are some cards in the main series set. If you remember, a lot of these Shining sets are separated into 2 different sets. So you have the main series set, and then you have a subset. You have a Shiny Vault set, which is what we have in Hidden Fates as well. Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. We've talked about tag teams a lot before on this channel. Tag teams are doing extremely well, including this one right here with the legendary Bird Trio. This one is up almost 36.5% over the past year. In October of 2023, it was barely a double-digit card. It was selling for $10 and a penny, climbed up quite a bit, and then in April of 2024, it actually fell right back down to where its one-year low was before starting to take off again. Did see a little bit of abnormality in July when it comes to the amount of sales. Obviously, the quantities, you can see a few spikes there, but it did jump up to about $15.73. Now it's kind of leveled off over the past couple months, still sitting at $13.69, still trending in the upward direction, but that's the Moltres and Zapdos and Articuno Rainbow Rare. The other ones, the full art and the regular art, are also doing very well. Here's Jesse and James, which is not the most popular in the set when it comes to the trainer cards, the full art supporters, but this one is all over the place over the past several years. It's gone through multiple buyouts and retraces and buyouts and retraces. For the most part, it's done really well over the past year, really flat, and then actually some consistent growth ever since January of 2024. So it hit that 1 year low of $11.86. You can see it started to spike again in July, where it jumped up to $19.29. This is probably the most volatile card in Hidden Fates. This one goes up and down all over the place, and really just because it's a fan favorite. A lot of people really like this card, but it was relatively easy to pull, so pull rates are kind of easy for this specific card, but there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of people who really enjoy this card and think that it's going to be a great card for a long time. It's still up about 10.5% over the past year, which is really strong, sitting at $15.80 currently. I figured it was really important to not only look at the sealed product from Hidden Fates, but also some of the singles. And if you compare some of those to what we see going on in Scarlet and Violet 151, hopefully that kind of helps answer some questions for you about what you want to do with your Scarlet and Violet 151 as far as your collection goals go. Here's that regular art Moltres and Zapdos and Articuno that we were talking about briefly just a second ago. In December of 2024, this was down to $6.86. But again, tag teams doing extremely well in the current market. In July of 2024, it had fallen back down a little bit where it was below $8 and then started going back up higher and higher. So $10.79 is where it hit for its 1 year high in August. Now it's leveled off a little bit, sitting at $9.98, but you're still looking at almost 30% growth over the past year. The Stained Class Bird, the legendary birds, beautiful card. This is what's included in the Elite Trainer box for Hidden Fates. So you get 10 booster packs, and then you get a copy of this promo card right here. This one actually fell to a 1 year low in March of 2024 when it hit $14.61, but it saw some really strong growth over the next several months, and in July of 2024 it hit $21.05 before backing off a little bit. Now it's increased again, so you're still looking at about 15% growth for this card. These cards sell in very high quantities quite consistently on TCG Player. You can see very consistent sales patterns throughout the entirety of the last year, in some cases selling more than 80 in a weekly stretch. So this one does extremely well, currently sitting at $19.36 and continuing to trend in that upward direction. Here's the most interesting one probably in Hidden Fates when we compare it to Scarlet and Violet 151. So your pull rate on this Charizard GX is going to be about 400 packs of Hidden Fates, which is a lot of booster packs. But for the most part, this card has been around $350 to $400 over the past few years. It's been very consistently around that price point. This is obviously the chase for a lot of people in Hidden Fates because it is Charizard. It is a full art shiny. There's like 45 full art shinies in the set. You have a pull rate of about 1 out of every 9. I think 1 out of 405 packs or so should yield you a Charizard GX. If you look at Scarlet and Violet 151, for example, that Charizard GX that we were just talking about, selling for about $150. That's a lot different of a price point compared to this one, which is selling for $424. So the chase card being Charizard for a lot of people obviously doesn't translate well when it comes to price point because this one doing so much better. However, pull rates are actually quite a bit better for the one in Scarlet and Violet 151 because you do only have about 7, I think there's 7 special illustration rares. Your pull rate on special illustration rares in Scarlet and Violet 151 is actually about 1 out of every 33 packs, and with 7 of them, you're looking at about 230, 240 packs, somewhere in that area to pull a Charizard special illustration rare. So a little bit easier to pull, actually quite a bit easier to pull than the Charizard GX, which is going to make up some of the reasoning behind that difference in value. Also, age of set plays a big factor. This one was more expensive out of the gate because there was a lot of demand behind it. Also, quality in Hidden Fates, not ideal. It did get better with the second print run, the third print run, but Charizard GX doing extremely well, currently selling for $424.40. You're looking at almost 8% growth over the past year, continuing to do really well, but a little bit off of where it was in July of 2024. That's when it was at its 1 year high of $452.86, still substantially better than where it was in January of 2024. That's when it was at its 1 year low of $376.44. Here's the Umbreon GX, another chase card for a lot of people. The eeveelutions obviously do extremely well, and we have another eeveelution specialty set that's coming out in January. with Prismatic Evolution in January of 2024. This was sitting at $109.47 for a long time. This was a sub $100 card. During the pandemic, as more and more product got open, this was selling for about $80 in January of 2024. Its 1-year low was $109.47. So it's done a really good job over the past couple years of consistent growth. In July of 2024, it actually shot up quite a bit, but you can see some abnormalities as far as sales go, maybe because it was undervalued, or at least that was the mindset for a lot of people, and because of that, it jumped up to $174.63. Now it's backed off a little bit down to $158.24, but you're still looking at about 32.5% growth over the past year. So that Umbreon GX doing extremely well. The Cynthia, this is your most expensive full art shiny in the set. This has seen a lot of growth over the past year. However, it did experience a very big downfall, a very steep downfall in October, November, December. It basically fell from its 1-year high of about $88 all the way down to its 1-year low of $75.28. And because of that, it's been relatively flat. It's taken the entire year to get back to where it was in October of 2023. Sitting at $87.13 currently. Here's the Sylveon GX. This one also going backwards a little bit, still up about 4% over the past year, but it's backtracked a little bit. This is a beautiful looking card. Obviously Fairy, no longer a typing in Pokemon, but it's got the cool color scheme with the blue and the pink. In October of 2023, this was sitting at $76.04. It did have a very strong run of growth throughout the majority of the year, up until about July of 2024, and now it's backed off quite a bit. You can also see far less quantity of sales on TCG Player over the past year. It's dropped down to about $79.65, which is about 12% below where it was, just a couple months ago. Here's the Espeon GX, which is starting to turn things around a little bit. In October of 2023, that's when this one was at its 1-year high of $61.61. Went down, went up, then went down again. And in April of 2024, it hit that 1-year low of $53.96. Now it's gained about 10% back, so it's sitting at $58.93 currently. Still down about 4% over the past year, but trending in that upward direction. The Mewtwo GX following a very similar pattern. In October of 2023, it was at its 1-year high of $46.82, dropped quite a bit, hit that 1-year low in January where it lost about 20%, so a very steep decline from December into January of 2024. It dropped to $46.82, then started to grow again, almost hit that 1-year high in May of 2024, and now it's backed off a little bit. It ends up being down about 5.5% for the year, sitting at $50.36 currently. We do have a few baby shinies in the set that are worth talking about, but we're just going to talk about the Eevee just for the sake of time. In October of 2023, this is sitting at $14.21. This card has done really well over the past year. You can see almost 24% growth, sitting at $20.03 currently, which is just off, or it hit $20.03 recently, which is just off of its 1-year high of $19.86. 24% growth is very, very strong. So the Eevee doing extremely well. The set does also feature some gold Pokemon cards, which is the Tapus, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Fini. Here's the Koko right here. This is the most expensive of all the gold cards, and again, still not doing very well. Very flat over the past year. You can see its 1-year high being hit in October of 2023. That's when it was at $16.18. It fell fairly quick, where it dropped about 10% over the course of 6 months. In April of 2024, it was sitting at $15.03, but for the most part, you're only looking at about a $1.50 differential between its 1-year high and its 1-year low. It's down about 6.75% over the past year, sitting at $15.09 currently, but the gold cards not as popular in Hidden Fates as what we've seen from like Black and White and some of the other sets. So those are the main cards from Hidden Fates that we're going to talk about right now. Obviously, there's a lot of different full art shinies that you can kind of gauge their levels of as far as their singles go, but that should give you some insight as far as what to expect from Scarlet and Violet 151, at least down the road. Now, Scarlet and Violet 151, another fan favorite of a lot of people, really like to open the set. They really enjoy opening the set, and it's a little bit different because it doesn't have quite the demand for Hidden Fates at the time as what we've experienced in Scarlet and Violet 151. Scarlet and Violet 151, obviously a much more in-demand set. We have not heard any news, unfortunately, of a giant reprint or restock or anything like that. Obviously, when we do get that news, I'll make sure to share it with you guys right away. I hope you guys enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm. Share the channel, share the video, share whatever you want. I just love you guys. You guys are awesome. I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Until then, peace.